All right, welcome to the Chargers Central podcast. Today we have Chargers legend Shawne Merriman on. And we're going to be talking all things Chargers. We got a must-win against the Vikings, and now it's Raiders week, so we need to beat the Raiders. So Jason, I'll have you start off with the questions.
All right. Yeah, thank you so much for coming back, Shawne. My first question, kind of going back to last game and prior games, there was that terrible call, the fumble. Alohi Gilman stripped Alexander Madison, their running back. Looked like a clear fumble. We did a challenge. They did the replay. We still didn't get the ball back. Going back to seasons past, do you think this is something that happens more often in the Chargers than other teams, or is this just luck of the draw kind of thing?
I think when you're in this position like they are and they're not winning like they should win, you start looking at every single play that could have gone our way. Like you start micro looking at everything. And was it a bad call? Absolutely. No doubt about that. It was a fumble. I don't think the guy it was a half a second when he got first contact made. It should have been a fumble. Any other play that's a fumble. But also, too, when you're barely getting past games, like we're all going to nitpick on what plays, what catch was dropped, what missed tackle, which force. We're going to nitpick now because the games are going the way they are. And sometimes you just need the ball to bounce your way in certain times. It's the luck of the draw. You look for those things to happen. And so just going forward, man, I think that them coming off of this win with Minnesota, it just puts that good feeling back into the locker room again. First and foremost, that hey, we can win, and this is how we win. But more importantly, man, just going in, it's nice momentum going into Raiders week.
Yeah. So last time you were on here, I had asked what your expectations are for the Chargers, and you said if they stay healthy, nothing's going to stop them. Nothing should stop them from winning the Super Bowl. But now Mike Williams injured. Do you think that the signing of Fehoko is going to help the team? And do you think that, they still have a shot at the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I do, actually. And even outside the first two games that they lost, I think that what was the coach from Philly said last night? He said nobody's playing their best football right now, right? Like nobody. We're talking about 3 weeks in, nobody's playing their very best football. We're going to have some injuries. And when I was talking about the injury standpoint, the Chargers had 7, 8 guys, main guys, that was injured last year. So if that doesn't happen again, I still give them a chance to go and win a championship. But I think first and foremost, we got to talk about winning the division. The division needs to be won first, and that starts this week against the Raiders.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Definitely. Do you think this is a game that we should blow out the Raiders, or you think it's going to be another close game?
I look, I stay away from at this point now talking about blowouts, because whether you win a game by 1 point or 100 points, or 60 or 70, whatever the Dolphins just blew out the Broncos with, a win is a win. You should celebrate a win no matter what. Now, you go into certain weeks and saying, yeah, we should beat these guys. This should be a win. But if you go and take anybody lightly at the NFL level, you're setting yourself up for failure. Should the Chargers win this week? Yeah, absolutely. They're the better team across the board, even with Mike Williams being down. They're the better team on both sides of the football. They're the better team. Now, what they can't do is start slow and give them momentum. The Raiders are going to come in desperate, and they're going to play desperate. And this is a rivalry game. I know that it's a little bit different than when I played, but it's a divisional opponent that we gotta stomp. The Chargers have to stump these guys going in and make them an example to get back on track again. I think that's the most important thing right now, is just come out, start fast. They're obviously the better team. They should beat these guys. They should, and not only beat them, they should stomp them, and that should happen.
So last week we saw J.C. Jackson was in a healthy scratch, inactive. This week they're going to be playing Devontae Adams, one of the best wide receivers in the leagues, arguably the best wide receiver in the league. Do you think that the trio of Alohi Gilman, Asante Samuel Jr., and Ja'Sir Taylor is the future for this team? And do you think that J.C. Jackson or Michael Davis should be cut, and a new cornerback should come in for the Chargers?
Well, I don't know necessarily about being cut, because they're there. They got, guaranteed. These guys got guaranteed contracts. I think with another year or 2 years or whatever the contract looks like. Cutting them is not going to solve other than give a roster spot up. By the way, they played Justin Jefferson right last week, who is the best wide receiver in the NFL. Devontae Adams is great. I mean, he's a great player. Justin Jefferson there's nobody like him in the NFL, and so we're going to get a similar type of look from Devontae Adams this week, but definitely a different situation, a different scenario. I don't think they're as good. I give them credit. The Vikings, they played well. They did some really good things. The Vikings' back was against the wall, right? And there was a must-win game. So the Chargers seen their best too. This week it's going to be the same situation, same scenario.
Yeah. We mentioned Thule last time around. What is your impression of him after a few games now?
Thule?
Yeah.
Look, man, I know he can play coming out of college, and you always try to see how somebody's game going to transition to the pros. And this dude's able to line up at multiple spots on the field. I've seen him rush guards, rush centers, be on the edge. When you have somebody as dynamic as him, it makes it a lot easier on the other two, which is, the Khalil Max, the Joey Bosa, the interior guys, because we had this thing called the three-headed monster. Back when I played, we had the three pass rushers in the game at the same time, and one of the guys came out and he would just come in and sub when one guy was tired. And so you got a three-headed monster that you can throw in the game now. Now you're seeing that he's performing. He could very well possibly be up for Defensive Rookie of the Year here soon. And I'm speaking from experience, just watching the guy. There's a lot of excitement, man. I love watching him play. His ability to rush on guards and almost play if he had to, a D tackle position and move him to a DN outside linebacker and pass rusher. It's very hard to stop a guy who can play multiple positions in that way.
Yeah, during our shows, I always tell Jason, put Thule on the same side as Khalil Mack or Joey Bosa and see what a nightmare that will be for the offensive line and quarterbacks.
Well, what's going to happen in that situation is that the offensive line got to slide protect, somebody got to chip, somebody got to fan protect. So when you line two guys on the outside that can pass rush like that, somebody's going to get the one-on-one on the backside. That's what you ultimately want. You want to free up that one-on-one, and Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, or either one of those guys can beat and should beat a one-on-one matchup.
Are you concerned at all about Khalil Mack? It seems like he hasn't had as many splash plays as we usually see from him.
Yeah, I mean, look, when I see something like that happen, maybe there's an injury, maybe there's something else going on. He's not playing as fast as he would normally play. He's not as effective. I do see a lot of quick thrown balls, man. I mean, the ball is coming out fast. When I see that, it definitely happened during the Miami game. I mean, Tua was throwing that ball on time every single time. That ball was gone. And I'm starting to see a lot of that now because nobody wants to face this pass rush. They just don't. And so a lot of quick passes, a lot of quick steps, quick drops, getting the ball out on time. So the guys got to, in their minds, have to be ready to get their hands up at the line of scrimmage, start batting down these balls, because we know that no one wants to see this pass rush. Also, the linebackers and the DBs, they need to learn how to start jumping these routes. The ball is coming out quick. And when you know that, you kind of start to play ahead, sit on certain routes, jump routes, and be a little bit more aggressive.
Yeah. Justin Herbert, I know you said that he doesn't have many weaknesses. And right now in the AFC, I was looking at some statistics, and he seems to be the best statistically this season over, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, etc. Do you think that he can continue that type of momentum under Kellen Moore?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And this was the scary part about Justin Herbert. We know him as the big play guy. We know him as the big arm, big explosive plays down the field. when you have that capability and you're not turning the ball over, that's a huge problem for the defense. When you going into this game, you're like, hey, this guy loves to, force the ball down in double coverage. This guy loves to try to, throw things that's not there. And you got to watch that deep ball. So I'm looking at now, because Johnston obviously is going to come in. It's going to be a lot of reps, a lot of covering up for Mike Williams, because Mike Williams is a great player, man. There's very few receivers in the NFL that's like him. I think that when it comes to the jump balls and possession wide receivers going up and getting it, he's the best, in my opinion. So you take a hit there, but what you gain is a deep threat, a real deep threat with some of these guys, and speed that's going to be on the field. And now the dishing around and multiple players touching the football because they have to at this point. So it's look, the same thing we said a few weeks ago. I still feel the same way. They got an opportunity to go on all the way, win the Super Bowl, but they have to take care of the division first. They can't let the Raiders come in the house and start fast and gain the momentum and play from behind. That's what they can't do this week.
Yeah, definitely. Do you think Quentin Johnston's going to be able to have an impact right away, or is it going to take him some time because, he hasn't really been getting the reps?
I think Quentin Johnston is going to jump in and have an immediate impact. I think it's going to happen this week. We've already seen amazing things out of Keenan, not out of his career, but definitely over the last few games, and what he's still capable of doing. It's so funny, man, because when you start talking about guys getting up there in age, or there was some talk during the offseason about whether he's going to be there or they're going to trade him, and this guy is just passing up the leading wide receiver all time. I think he had over 200 yards. Like, what are we talking? And so that's why I never jump to conclusions on small things, right? They lost against Miami. Yes, the defense should have played better, better play calling. They lost 36-34. You got an offense that can score 34 points a game. As a defense, you should feel very confident from week to week, knowing that you got an offense that can put up 30-plus points to you in any given time. That should make the defense feel great. Now you go out there and start cleaning up the defense, getting some more turnovers, getting after the quarterback a little bit more, getting off the field a little bit faster, and you still got a quarterback and offense that can throw up 30 points a game. That's why I still feel the same way about the team going forward.
Yeah, as crazy as it might sound, Keenan Allen has looked arguably his best, and I feel like Kellen Moore has unlocked him. And Quentin Johnston, when he's in the game, it seems like he opens up more opportunities for Keenan Allen. And when Quentin Johnston's in the game, you have more attention on Johnston because of his size. And Herbert seems to be going deep to Keenan Allen on those types of plays. So now that Quentin Johnston is going to see more time on the field, do you think that Keenan Allen will have more type of plays downfield, or will it be Quentin Johnston getting downfield plays?
I think it's going to be Quentin Johnston stretching the field. I would work Keenan because he's the best route runner in the game. I know we got other guys, but when you talk about pure art of route running, I still believe that Keenan Allen is top three. Let's call it top three. When you have somebody like that, you got somebody stretching the field, they're going to have to not only cover him with a cornerback, but get somebody on top of him. That leaves Keenan Allen to work the shorter route. That leaves Everett to work the middle of the field, one-on-one on the linebackers or strong safety. They're going to be fine, man. I see where this is going, and I know losing Mike Williams is a punch in the gut, man. When I seen that, I just knew it right away, and I was like, he's gone. Even before he was caught, I said, this is bad. And immediately I started thinking, like, man, this can't be happening. It's, only to us, right? Only to the Chargers. But all in all, man, I think that Quentin Johnston will get in there, stretch the field, cause a lot of problems, and then if you don't respect his speed, he's going to make you pay for it.
Yeah, definitely. Other than the receivers, what do you think is the key to beating the Raiders?
Don't leave Max Crosby one like that. Max, he's obviously he's not one of my favorite players this week, but outside of him playing the Chargers, he's one of my favorite players to watch because Max, he's going to get to the quarterback, but you got to look at the disruption he causes even when he's not getting a sack. that to me is Max's biggest attribute. So you can't let him cause disruption by just keeping him one-on-one the whole game. You got to chip him. Bring a wide receiver or tight end in that short set, closer line of scrimmage, and hit him on the way out. Just cause him not to get off the line of scrimmage as fast as he normally does. Cause a problem and let somebody else make the play, right? Because if you don't take care of Max Crosby, you know what he's going to do. So you have to let somebody else be the problem. And to me, that's going to be a big, big key going into this week.
Yeah, I think, fourth quarter in week 1, the Dolphins started blitzing and it worked. And then in overtime, week 2, the Titans started blitzing and that worked. And then week 3, we saw the Vikings blitz in the fourth quarter, but Herbert was getting the ball out quickly. And that worked for the Chargers. So do you think that the same game plan will be get the ball out quickly no matter what against the Raiders and Max Crosby?
Well, it all depends if what they plan on doing, Max. Right? If you want to leave him one-on-one, yeah, you're going to be throwing the ball a lot faster. You leave a tight formation set or trips wide receiver tight to line of scrimmage, so he can't get in that pass rush mode quick. Then you got some time because he got some traffic to get through. Yeah, you leave Max Crosby one-on-one, you got to get rid of the football. But more importantly, they can do that anyway. They got the talent and the skill guys to throw short passes, wide receiver screens, or tight end screens, or slants, quick outs. They have that to turn a quick out, a 5-yard, 7-yard out, and have us got to miss and get them another couple yards. So you can live and die by that. And by the way, as a pass rusher, when they're throwing the ball out quick all the time, your starts going through your head. You're going to kind of temper down your pass rush a little bit. You're like, man, he's got, and before you know it, 7-step drop, right? Holding on, deep ball down the field. And so it's going to be a lot of back and forth when it comes to that this week.
Yeah. How did you used to feel going into Raiders week?
I felt great. I felt like fighting, Look, it's known that I will always be a Raider hater. I think that started with Marty Schottenheimer just kind of putting that out there. But also the fan base and just the rivalry and hate between the two. It may not be what it was, but it's still there, man. It's still a rivalry, at least among the fan bases. And this, as a player, man, you gotta love this week. Like this week is why you play football. And you're going into it, it's going to be a hostile environment because the Raiders fans going to travel. They're gonna love to sit back and say, hey, we took over half your stadium and this and that. But what you got to do is to quiet them down is you jump out of them early and watch how quiet they get, right? And it's going to happen. And so that's why I said that the Chargers have to start fast. Do not play this game by letting the Raiders get momentum and then trying to play catch up by putting yourself in a bad situation. We know the stadium's going to be packed with Raiders fans. They travel well, especially the games like this. They can be as loud as they want to. They're going to be as quiet as they want to when the score gets out of hand. And so that's, as a player, that's how you got to go in and look at this game. We got to shut them up and we got to score fast, get the stadium quiet, get them the fans that they're going to travel with out of the stadium in general, and just go out and get this game, man. But this week is what you play football for, these type of games.
Going back to week 3 real quick, the 4th and 1 call, a 4th and 1, 4th and 2, something like that, where they ran the ball. Who was at fault there? Was it Brandon Staley or was it Kellen Moore?
Well, I don't, and that's why when it happened, I didn't want to jump out on Twitter and say anything because I don't know who made that call. I don't know if Brandon Staley said, "Hey, we're going to do it, let's go for it," or it was Kellen Moore to say, "Hey, let's go for it," and told Brandon Staley, "Let's do it." And so I don't know who did it. And look, it's one of those things where it's a risk reward, right? They get the first down, and everybody's like, "Hey, this is the best call that's ever happened. That was so smart." And praising you for being gutsy and getting it. It's the fact that when you don't get it, is when everybody gonna come down for you. That's one of those things where you got to live and down the sword, right? You just have to, like, hey, we're gonna do it. As a player, I wouldn't necessarily mind that. Like I don't, as a player, you want a coach to do that, and you want to be in a situation where it's like, man, we believe in ourselves this much in order to do it. So regardless of what the fans and people are going to say, yeah, well, if you kick it, if you punt it, it's safe, right? No one's going to complain or say anything. You get the first down, and now you're going to be praised for being gutsy, and it's one of those things where you got to pick and choose your battles there. You obviously want to make the best call, but as a player, man, I don't mind that. I really wouldn't.
Yeah, I was just curious because you had people blaming Staley, some were blaming Moore. So I was just like, I don't know whose call that was, but I just want to get your take on that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. I mean, obviously, Coach Staley has the final say so what happens. He's whatever he says go. If the players are like, yo, let's go for this, right? If Kellen Moore, like, we got the perfect play for this, we're lined up and ready to go, and they just go, like, you just go and do it. If it works, great. If it doesn't, you know what the repercussions of that are going to be, and we've seen that. And so they won the game, and that's what's most important.
Yeah, I liked seeing the aggressiveness back in Staley personally, but yeah, on a lighter note, last time you mentioned you watch crime shows going to bed. Does that ever give you nightmares, man?
No, it gives me nightmares to fall asleep with no TV on. I mean, if I could even do that. So yeah, man, I'm the other night I was watching Law and Order, falling asleep. First 48 for Forensic Files, 48 Hours ID. Like I watch those at night when I finally click on the TV around about 9 o'clock. And I watch TV for half an hour to an hour before I go to bed. So, that's part of my routine, dude. It's like I'm still in this routine, even though I'm not playing. It's like I'll work all day. I wake up at 4:30 in the morning, work all day. 9 o'clock, that crime show coming
on. Lastly, the Lights Out that you have, Lights Out October 7th, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Long Beach.
Yeah, we got a huge fight, Lights Out Extreme fighting October 7th in Long Beach, California. You can get your tickets at lightsoutxf.com. Man, listen, this is the biggest card we've had. We almost had to cut back fights, the amount of fights that we have. And Albert Morales, Musa Tolliver, Albert, who fought in the UFC for some time, Musa, also really good. I've sparred and trained with both of these guys. And I can tell you right now that there's bad blood. And I always stay out the matchmaking, man. I got our matchmaker, Antonio, who does a lot of, by the way, he's a Raiders fan, disgusting. But I normally let them do that. This time I kind of got in it a little bit because I know what this fight is going to do. Both of these guys are local, big in the LA and Long Beach area. This is the most tickets we've sold 2 weeks outside of a fight, and we're up 75% viewership on Fubo Sports, Fubo TV. If you guys don't have Fubo out there, get it, man. You don't want to miss this one. Fubo also got some great other programs, and they got this new multi-view thing that's pretty cool that I was checking out the other night. So yeah, this one is going to be big. October 7th in Long Beach, Lights Out Extreme fighting. We'll be live on Fubo TV, Fubo Sports.
All right.
Sounds awesome. Thank you.
You got it, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks, man.
All right.
All right.